You folks lucky, because it is once again time for Once Upon a Tune, the podcast about tunes where we celebrate music
and the characters who make it. What's up, everybody? I'm Broke Boland.
And I'm Dev Jana, and on this week, it is Friday the 13th as this is being published. And on this week, we're going to do all kinds of scary and spooky things that have to do with music. We are airing, due to a family emergency, we were unable to post last week, so the previous week's episode will come out next week, and we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program, but we want to make sure that we did not miss Friday the 13th. And today we're going to get into the big idea, which is really all about scary music and music acts and scary people in music. Is that a fair way to put it?
I think that's just scary stuff has to do with music. And not to mention, so just to clarify, if next week we look a little younger and thinner, that's because we're a week ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We time warped.
We time
warped. So
Rocky Horror.
Yeah, we'll get back to that, because I want to ask this, for us personally, before we get into the big idea, I want to do a quick round robin on the scariest things that maybe happened to us either at a show that we were at or at one of our own shows where we played. So I'll start off with that, which is to be, I grew up in the 80s and in the 90s. When I was a teenager, I was getting into punk. I started going to punk shows, and I didn't realize how many Nazis there were that were into punk. And I don't really fit into their worldview really well. And in particular, I went to a Rancid show. I want to say it was 94, it might have been 95. It was right when they were at their height. And it was in Ohio, and there was a bunch of neo-Nazis there. And I got assaulted in the pit. I actually got knocked unconscious, and a buddy of mine who I didn't know was there pulled me out, and I woke up. He had me in a seat, behind at the back of the theater, and woke me up. It was a great show, though. It was an awesome show. The Lunatics opened up, the Rancid headline. It's a fantastic show. But that was one of the scariest things I ever experienced at a show myself.
Oh, that's legit scary.
Yeah, it wasn't scary at the time, because I was in the pit and I was having fun, and then I woke up and my friend kind of explained to me what had happened. Apparently, one of them had a broken arm and came up behind me with his cast and hit me in the head with a cast.
From behind?
Yeah, I had no idea. I was there, I was having fun, and then my friend was waking me up. So in retrospect, it was scary. At the time, luckily, nothing really happened.
You were lights out.
Very lucky he was. I didn't even know he was there. I didn't know that he was at the show, so it was very, very lucky.
That's crazy. Mine all had to do with injuries, to myself. During every one of the Dirty Pickles sets, I always ended with Johnny Be Good, and that's when I would do the most outrageous stuff I could. And, I don't know if you guys ever followed Matty B and the Dirty Pickles, my old band. Well, I guess we're still around, but, I have all these shots of me jumping. I'm known for jumping off of stuff, and, I remember I was at Sherlock's in Erie, PA one time, and I jumped off the stage, got up on the bar, was doing my solo at the end of the song, and I'd always told my guys, no matter what happens, keep playing. I will finish the song. So, to get back onto stage, there's a 2-step up and a half doorway, so you have to duck to go back on stage. Well, I thought it'd be cool if I put one foot in the door frame and kind of lunged out and just popped out in the middle of the stage, right? There's actually a video of this. And we had all these girls and stuff. We invited all the girls to come up and dance, or anybody, but only the girls did, is what I should say. So I'm like, oh, if I lunge up on stage, I'll end up right in between them. And I go to do that, and I catch my head on the frame, and I hit my head so hard and lunged with such force that I heard crack, and then also crack off my own shoulder. So I got double tapped on my head, and I walked up to the mic and immediately tunnel vision, fell backwards, ran outside, immediately threw up. I had a wireless guitar on me. Immediately threw up and was outside. Band's still playing, Johnny Be Good. And they're just like, oh, shit, I throw up. I'm super dizzy. Obviously have a concussion. And it was probably, felt like 20 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds. I ran back on, finished the song, and then got off stage. And my dad happened to be there, and he's just like, all right, I already talked to your bass player and drummer. They're packing your stuff up, get in the car. We're going to the hospital.
Take you straight.
So that was a pretty scary one. And then I broke my foot jumping off a wall in New Jersey. The stage was here, and then there was a pit, and then there was like this narrow wall, like divider, half wall, across from the stage. And I ended up getting on it. We were playing a college in New Jersey. We were going to do the New York City Marathon the next day. And I get on this little, I get on this little catwalk wall, and I go to jump. And my perception is seeing the stage level, forgetting that there's a 3 to 4 foot more to go. And when you can't anticipate a landing like that, we had a whole crowd of people. So I jumped. I didn't pop down. I actually jumped up. This was a 9-foot wall, by the way. And which I'm perceiving as a 5-foot wall.
Which is still enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I jump, and as soon as I land, and again, it's during our last song. It was during Johnny Be Good. You've broken bones, right?
Yeah.
You know that chill you get. You're like, okay, something broke.
Was it like a full break or a fracture?
Just something in my foot when I landed. All of a sudden, my foot didn't feel right, and I couldn't put weight on it. So I literally did the Johnny Be Good duck walk back to the mic and act like it was part of the show, and finished the song. And I called my bass player Ben over. I'm like, Ben, come here. He was like, what? I was like, dude, help me get off the stage without people noticing. I couldn't put any weight on it. So I immediately, we're on tour. We're not canceling the New York City Marathon. We were at the halfway point where everyone's given the Gatorade cups. We played in a sea of Gatorade cups. And you can find a bunch of pictures from that show. It was the next morning. We immediately went to CVS or Rite Aid or something and got an ace bandage, a whole thing of ibuprofen, and a cane. And I played that show with the cane wedged under my leg to keep my leg up.
Yeah.
But those are pretty scary, especially like being on the road and that
not being at home,
breaking my foot and just being like, okay. And to this day, my toes touch like that. So different kind of scary. I would definitely be more scared in your position.
So how that's West Side. I've been at Rhyme Sayers shows here where people throw up their M's from Minnesota that look like that, like your foot.
Oh,
so
nice.
You got a Minnesotan foot. Yeah, I think
Minnesota foot.
You got a Minnesotan foot, man. I guess I hadn't thought about that, like things that were scary for us. And the one that sticks out for me is, I'm not going to say this guy's name, but his band opened for one of my old bands at the Good Old Beer Mug way back in the day, and even before the show, like, he's got, like, Gregorian chants blasting through the PA before we play, which is, like, it's cool, and that's cool if that's your vibe, but it's not exactly setting the space up for, like, a fun evening, right? You know, and just very in his own world. And they're playing, and he breaks a string. And I'm like, yo, man, I got some string. And we're already providing backline. I got some strings. He's like, no, let me use your guitar. And I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm going to be nice.
That's not the same.
And at the end of the set, my guitar's on the ground, there's feedback going, like, you know what I mean? And you can, my old sound guy has a recording of this, and I got all the dats. I'm going to find this eventually, because we were this close to a riot breaking out. Like, all our boys are there. The Beer Mug was like our usual hang. Like, the whole place was packed with our guys, and you can hear me like yelling, I gave you my guitar because I'm nice. Like, I'm like so pissed off. And I kind of tune it up, and we get up there, and we're like, okay, this is like, guns are going to come out, right? Like, this is going to be bad, like, real quick. And I'm just so we're like, we got to start playing, or like, people are at least going to start fighting, right?
Right.
And like, I'm tuning up, and we're about to start playing, and he comes back in, pushes all the way through the crowd, puts his hand on my chest. It's like, yo, man, I didn't mean to throw your guitar. I was like, you need to get out of here, man, or you're going to, like, something really, really bad is going to happen. Like, no one wants to see what's about to happen. And he's, like, arguing. He's, like, gotten on stage and is arguing with me and, like, pushing me in the chest. And I'm trying to be like, dude, just get out of here. Like, I'm trying to save your life right now.
You're making this so much worse.
Oh man, I was really. I don't like the guy, but I was really worried for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't want that to happen at anywhere, let alone at one of our shows. And yeah, one of my friends got him in a Nelson, just pulled him out. Remember the little side door on the side of the beer mug?
I do.
That's
what I used to sneak in when I was underage.
Yeah, well, you and half of Erie.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was a weird thing to experience, like in real time. You hear that things like that happen, but I never thought someone would throw my guitar. You know what I mean? Like
people don't care.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
like even running sound at Aerotone Productions, you know, we do all kinds of shows, and it's amazing. Like the people who hire us and know and are there, the promoters who are also in some of these bands. They watch us wheel our stuff in. We have these deep conversations beforehand, develop a good relationship. Then they get on stage and their foot just goes right through our monitors. Like, man, you know that this is like our stuff. But rock and roll's rock and roll. I mean,
right.
Shit happens. You know what I mean? Like in the like there's a reason why you catch a feeling from music, and it's sometimes literally intoxicating, and you don't know what you're doing when you're in rock star mode.
And I will say this guy was not in rockstar mode. He was in douchebag mode. But and I'm not gonna say who he was, but even like years later, he was like, "Hey, remember me?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember you, dude. Get out of my face." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not interested in talking to you, man. You know.
I want to know who it is so bad.
We'll take it offline, and I'll tell you there's a very satisfying end to that story. That anyway, let's get into the big idea, Matt. What is the big idea for today?
Scary songs and artists and just scary Friday the 13th. Woo.
Yeah. Do you want to start us off? You got anyone in mind?
Yeah. I'll start us off with one of the pioneers, actually. Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Screamin' Jay Hawkins was an operatic style singer who fully believed and encouraged stage shows back in the 50s. And his stage show consisted of voodoo, eccentric, coffins. He played with a bone in his nose, leopard print capes, staffs that smoked. And at that time, that was not what you saw. I mean, now you can look back at him and it looks kind of cheesy and goofy, but at the time it was so innovative and it truly terrified people. And he had this laugh to him. Y'all know him. He's the one who wrote "I Put a Spell on You." And he would just make noises and facial expressions and drool and just, you know, his whole thing was like, I'm putting on a show and it's going to be like something you never seen before. He had skulls all over the place. And if you're thinking in the 1950s, I mean, we're talking about Elvis, you know, and before Elvis even, you know, he was around at that same time period. And the clean cut, you know, pretty white boy,
yeah,
was not his vibe. And it was awesome. And it was totally, he influenced pretty much everyone who came after him. I mean, really, if you name any of the artists we're about to name from here on out would all somewhere in their lineage attribute something to Screamin' Jay Hawkins.
Yeah. I just looked it up to make sure, but I was like, I think he was like absolutely blasted drunk when he sang the recording of it. And I Put a Spell on You, and I looked it up. And I was like, there's no way that's actually true. I want to make sure it is. And I just did. It was like, yeah, not only was he, but his band, they were all like completely blasted when they recorded that song. It's one of the best recordings of all time. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that.
And he has another song that y'all should check up. He has a song about real pain. That's how he puts it. There's a little a cappella vocal section where he starts just by speaking, saying he was at the hospital the other day and found a man in real pain. And the song's called Constipation Blues.
Oh,
and
Constipation
Blues. It is hilarious. Anyway, yeah, so maybe that's one for the playlist. By the way, every single week Dev makes a playlist puts a lot of hard work into it. Up on Spotify of every song or artist that we mentioned throughout. Make sure to check them out. They're badass. If you go to onceapodtune.com, you can go and check out every single video, and every playlist is linked right underneath it. So check that out.
Yeah, I actually was taking notes there. Constipation Blues, is that right?
Yep, Constipation Blues.
That will absolutely be the first song on this week's playlist. All right, so for my first one, I'm going to go with one that is not thought of like this right now, but I want to set the stage for how I first experienced Tool. I went over to a friend's house, maybe 92, 93, whenever Undertow had come out, and we had already had Opiate, their initial EP, but we hadn't heard Undertow. And maybe Undertow might not have even come out yet. Maybe just the video for Sober had come out, and it was on Headbangers Ball. What a lifesaver that show was when we were kids. But it was on Headbangers Ball, and they debuted the video. And when it was over, he looked over at me and went, "You locked the door on the way in, right?" It had completely creeped us out. We had not seen anything like we didn't speak. We just kind of sat still, oh my God, what the heck was that? And that was one of the more impactful moments I think I've ever had, as an introduction to. We had talked about this before, when a band completely finds what it is that they do. Yeah. And very quickly, I want to talk about that Undertow. That album was produced by Sylvia Massey, one of my favorite producers. She is one of the most brilliant, interesting people in music, and kind of is in the background. Check out some videos with her. She's incredible, and also really she's really funny and inviting. She's a cartoonist also. She actually made a book about how to produce music where she draws it all in cartoons. Wow. How to engineer. Yeah, it's brilliant. But the
What's her name?
Sylvia Massey. I'll send you some links, and maybe we'll put some on the website, because her interviews, I don't know. I don't think I've never said this before. I don't think there's anybody in the music business that I would like to work with more than Sylvia Massey. I think she's the one person that I would like to work with the most. So
Shout out Sylvia Massey.
And seriously, check her out.
We're speaking to you.
When you she did this one. This is tangentially related, but in one of the videos recently, she was producing some band. She was like, I want to get a really weird sound, so instead of an amp, they ran the guitar through a light bulb. I don't even know how she did that, but that was what she did. There was another one where she had the bassist play in an abandoned nuclear silo, so the sound was one of those giant silos. The sound was whipping around the entire thing. Wait,
rewind. Had the band play through a light bulb? Would that be one of those plasma pedals?
Yeah,
that same effect.
Yeah, similar to a Tesla coil or a plasma pedal, but it was actually the light bulb was flickering and flashing, and she had a mic on it while she was recording the band. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. They had rigged it up in the play. Imagine being the artist that's working with her, and how inspiring that could be. So one of the recordings on Undertow is the band smashing a piano. She brought a piano into the room, gave them all sledgehammers, and just had them smash a piano and put mics up in the room. And that was the bonding moment for them as they were going on the trip to create their first full length album. And they became the Tool that they are. I kind of feel that doesn't get spoken about much in Tool lore, but they became the Tool that they are kind of with that album. Now, every time you get a Tool album, you know what you're going to get. You just kind of want to see how far they've gone with it.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. We're going to edit here in the edit, but I'll be right back. I don't think I can talk about Tool without showing my Adam Jones custom
signature model
Epiphone.
That's awesome.
This thing is one of the most, I don't know if you can what you can see and what you can't there, but this is one of the most beautiful instruments, and it is the loudest guitar I've ever played by miles. I'll plug this in and then plug in another guitar. Even my J Mascis Jazz. I have two signature model guitars. I just realized I have two signature model guitars. That's weird. But my J Mascis Jazzmaster has P90s in it, and it's a third as loud as this thing is. Anyway, but yeah, Tool, one of the greats. Okay, while we're on the subject of Tool, Adam Jones. A lot of people don't know this. He was my graduate degree is in 3D animation special effects. I love movies and special effects and stuff. And Adam Jones was a special effects guy. I think a lot of people just don't know this, but like he worked on Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park, and he left that career for Tool because Tool was getting big. Like, what a life this guy's had. He's lived like 4 lives. And my favorite quote was, I want to say it was a 2002 Guitar World, one of my favorite quotes of all time. He said, everything I do will either be music in the shadow of art or art in the shadow of music. And to be able to say that,
come on, man,
right? Yeah, to be able to be able to seriously say that and mean it.
You're not allowed to be that talented and that profound.
Oh man,
like, save some for the rest of us.
I think that was one of the things about Tool that that seemed scary early on, was their depth seemed like intimidating and dark. But then the more you actually, at the risk of sounding like one of those crazy Tool fans, which not that I'm not,
as you're literally hugging the signature series guitar. I'm not a crazy Tool fan. You are.
But the more you get into them, the more you realize that like it goes some dark places, but like it's very well balanced. And when I listen to Tool, they're regarded as a heavy band, and they are, or they get heavy, but at least 50% of the time they're not loud. They might be dark, but they're not loud. And
spooky.
Yeah, exactly. Spooky. And that fits very nicely into the vibe of about what we're talking. But certainly the first time I saw them with the Brothers Quay animation, and it just completely, like we had chills the entire time. And we were like teenage boys. Like we thought that we were tough. Like it would have been hard to scare us at the time, but Tool absolutely did it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Tool definitely. I didn't put it on my list because I knew I didn't have to. It was on your list. But I'm going to keep going. Like I said, I like the origin of stuff, which is why I love 50s rock and roll so much. And going back to that, there was a artist known as the Phantom. I can't think of his actual name. Actually, if you want to look that up while I talk about him, the Phantom, and he had a hit called "Love Me," and he wore a mask. And this is going back to the 50s. I believe this was 57, 58. I believe this came out, and it's known as the first psychobilly song. Now, psychobilly is basically rockabilly with horror elements to it. Everything's done in minor. I'm sorry, my phone's going off. I'm going to mute that real quick because I did not do that before the show. Bad podcaster over here, guys. But yeah, so sorry. So he wrote this song called Love Me, where it starts off with him yelling. He just goes, ah! And then it's a E minor, dun, 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 dun. It's the first time you ever really heard that, instead of hitting the snare on the major. The pinky tapping the snare on the major. He's doing it on the minor, and it sounds so dark. And he just kind of goes crazy. You could hear he's just slobbering on the mic when he's singing, and it's like really intense. It's almost like origin punk rock. But the Phantom, did we get his name by any chance?
Jerry Lott, and
Jerry Lott.
Born January 30th, 1938, and Love Me came out in 1958.
1958.
Like unbelievably long time ago. And yeah, from what I can tell, but just by looking him up to try to find his name, everyone who you think would cite him as an influence absolutely says like he was the first. He was one of the best. Really, really.
Yeah, for that psychobilly, high energy vibe. Different category than Screamin' Jay Hawkins, but definitely influenced a lot on his own. And I'm going to throw one more small one in there, just because there's one video that y'all need to look up of this guy, and it kind of tells you everything you need to know. Screamin' Lord Sutch.
Screamin' Lord Sutch.
Yes. Jack the Ripper.
How do you spell Sutch for that name? People want to look it up.
Sutch?
Okay.
Question mark? You got him over there? But yeah, Screamin' Lord Sutch was he wore this hat and he had makeup, but there's this awesome video of him in the 60s, like early 60s, walking through a crowd and just scaring the crap out of girls. He walks like a hunchback, and he's singing about Jack the Ripper, and he looks like Jack the Ripper, and he just starts yelling in their faces. And you could tell, like, this was a time period when scary wasn't okay. You know what I mean? Like these people were actually terrified. They didn't know if he was performing or ready to kidnap them, you know? Like, so I just had to throw him out there because specifically this one video of him in the 60s, you'll know it when you find it. It's all low quality. He looks like a madman. It's awesome. But
I just, you were right on the spelling, by the way, Screaming Lord Sutch. I was able to look him up. And yeah, this guy looks like he was 20 years ahead of his time or something that, you know?
For
it's just
sure.
really, really wild. Those pioneers. Next week's episode is the one that, the next one to air next week is one we recorded the previous week. And it's about artists who deserved more. And this guy seemed like he probably was just too far ahead of his time for people to understand or reward what he was doing. But I can see a direct line from this to White Zombie, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you know, like 100. Yeah, absolutely. This is really, really groundbreaking stuff here. I guess that's a good dovetail into how, like, a lot of the, like, horror-themed metal stuff, like, I never found Alice Cooper scary in any way, shape, or form. I just didn't. I thought he was, like, a great rock star. I could see that it was theatrics and that it worked, but it didn't like ever elicit fear or terror. It was more kind of like a Halloween party to me, if that makes sense.
You're too young.
Right.
Because the truth is, I talked to my mom about Alice Cooper, and she's like, when he came out, like, we were terrified of him, like the guillotine coming down and everything.
Yeah.
So it's weird because, like, yeah, I feel like the older we get, the less scary stuff gets. But those people who did it first at the time they did it, you know.
Right. I mean, I was talking about this the other day, like because I was just in my hometown, well, in Erie, and I was at the mall, and it was like, man, I remember going to play Mortal Kombat, and everyone was worried about that. They were like, look at how gory this is. It's like adorable now. It's like absolutely adorable, the first Mortal Kombat.
But remember what we loved about it was
blew my
like,
mind.
oh my gosh. You know?
I got into 3 actual fights because of Mortal Kombat in the arcade. Like, I actually said to one kid once, you just lost 50 cents. You're about to lose your dignity, which is a ridiculous, like, 90s reality. But, like, when you look back
I
at it...
hope you said it with a bandana on, just like you have right now.
I'm pretty sure, you know, like, chances are. But, yeah, that was a... like, it's such a tame, adorable little game compared to what is readily available to everybody in your homes all the time right now. Yeah, that escalation is I think that's a part of what I'm kind of alluding to, is that, like, Alice Cooper never really scared me, and the original, or I didn't find him scary. I found the theatrics entertaining in the way that, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a campy horror movie. I don't know.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Friday. Well, the early Friday the 13th stuff terrified me.
Yeah,
because I was older. They were coming out in the theaters when I was a kid, and they were absolutely, like, just the commercials were scary as the scariest things I had ever seen when I was like 7, 8 years old or something, when they were coming out. Like, literally, when a Friday the 13th commercial come on, my sister would stand between me and the TV and, like, distract me because I would get nightmares that night. That's 110% the truth. And then I remember seeing, like, Freddy versus Jason in the theater, and we were literally, like, giggling and pointing at the screen. You know, like, it had just kind of moved in a different direction.
We can just bring up Jason X and get it out of the way.
We don't need to bring up Jason X. The whole concept of Jason in space sounds brilliant, but yeah, the execution not quite there. But then, yeah, it does. Well, you know, it should be. It would be a better video game than it would be a movie.
Fact.
It's probably,
Fact.
you know, like, that's something like Dead Space is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There, you know, which is an amazing game. But similarly, the luminaries in, like, horror metal, like, I always found King Diamond kind of funny. Like, it, you know, it never seemed actually scary to me, but because he was just so ahead of his time. And okay, I just also really want to talk about, like, you know, like Mayhem, you know, like black metal bands, the earliest black metal bands, and I find them, like, their story more frightening than their music a lot of the times. And I think that's part of what we're going to get into today is that in a lot, now that we're older, a lot of the stories have come out, and like apparently they didn't actually torch any of those churches. Other people were just accusing them of doing it, and they didn't. They were like, "Well, it helped build the legend," so we, And I was like, "Oh, so we've been walking some of that stuff back, that's kind of to be expected. It can't all be true."
Well, I think folklore in rock and roll and music is also important. It sucks because sometimes it's better to not know the truth. I mean, in those cases, I don't condone burning churches, but in general, I'm saying folklore is fun.
And folklore is going to disappear. Like everything is recorded all the time now. Like the concept of folklore, going back to Nirvana being one of my favorite bands of all time, it's like one of the things about Nirvana is they were the last band to be like the band of the moment. Now that everyone can kind of choose their own things with the advent of the internet. But yeah, that kind of like scary metal music never really scared me. But I want to share a band that did absolutely scare one of my best friends in the most unexpected time. We were driving his Jeep through the mountains in West Virginia, and I put on Tales from the Punch Bowl by Primus. And the beginning of Southbound Pachyderm, like he went, turn it off. Like he just kind of freaked out. He just something snapped, and he doesn't listen to a lot of like hyper creative atonal style music, and it never occurred to me that Primus would be scary if you hadn't already kind of listened to music that's similar to it. But just how like atonal it was, and like there's some dark stuff in Primus, like Bob is a crazy dark. I mean, My Name Is Mud's a pretty dark song.
Oh yeah.
But actually, my wife said this recently because she wasn't a Primus fan, but I watch and listen to Primus a lot, and she was like, now that I see them, I love them, and I think they're hilarious. But if you just hear them, it can sound it can sound really dark and like unhinged. I think is the thing where it sounds so unfamiliar to people that becomes scary, which is a really interesting concept now that music is cracked open and everyone has access to everything all the time. How are we going to scare people if you can be familiar with anything with a click on your phone from now on? Yeah, so Primus, I wasn't expecting to talk about Primus, but when I was thinking about who we would discuss on this episode, that was one of them, for sure.
Well, you just scared me by saying click. The use of a click can be scary because I don't always condone click tracks. I
hate click tracks.
That was a recording joke. You steal a lot of soul out of music with click tracks. However, there is a time and place.
Well, I will say I use them most of the time when I'm recording other people, but I personally don't particularly like them. And if it's a click and it's set to 120, just go home. I'm not working with you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's in C major 120 to a click. It's like, all right, go find someone else. I'm not working. It's like
what are you offering the world?
Yeah, exactly. At least make it 118 or something.
Yes, yes. All right. I'm gonna do this because they're probably, when people think about like scary bands, they're probably the ones who really marketed themselves, truly marketed themselves. And between the songs they wrote, the content they wrote about, the way they looked, their stage show, their logo, you can't have this conversation without the Misfits. The Misfits
absolutely
came around in the late 70s from New Jersey. Danzig, Jerry Only, his brother. I lost it.
Me too.
I lost it.
I was at the Rock Hall yesterday and I saw Jerry Only's guitar and I just focused.
Oh, did you?
On that. Yeah, it was fun. It was my first time at the Rock Hall. We'll talk about that actually in a couple episodes for sure. But let's see if I can.
I can't believe I've heard. I can't believe
Doyle.
Duh.
Yep.
Doyle von Frankenstein. But yeah, those guys came around, garage band, right at the premiere of punk rock, and they had the look, man. They had the devil locks. They had makeup under their eyes. They wore leather vest. Well, Jerry Only wore leather vests with giant spikes. They played crazy carved out guitars. They BC Riches. They looked like BC Riches.
Yeah, I think so.
And they sang about horror. They had Horror Business was the name of one of their songs, and Famous Monsters was another album that album was great, man. It sucks because like Michael Graves was an awesome next singer for that band. It seemed like a little cousin had joined the band, you know. Unfortunately, you know, Michael Graves got himself into hot water with some of his political opinions these days, which sucks because I actually met Michael Graves and he was really cool to hang with. But yeah, the Misfits, their logo, that Crimson Ghost. This is actually a very close design of one of the Misfit skulls. This mask that I have here, it's not the Crimson Ghost, but like the skulls they use a lot have that look behind them. But they were really the ones who took these guys I said beforehand, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, The Phantom, Lord Such. They're the ones who evolved it, you know, like they put it on the map, evolved it, and went, this is horror punk, you know, cemented that. And there's one other band that took it in a slightly different direction than the Misfits did, because the Misfits really leaned into the punk element as far as the speed and the sound of the music goes. But again, this conversation doesn't exist without the Cramps and Lux Interior and Poison Ivy. The Cramps might be the greatest true rock and roll band of all time. I know what a thing that says, but when I say rock and roll, I'm not talking about rock. I'm talking about rock and roll. You put those two words together, and that means different. That means something different than rock. You know, rock and roll music is rhythm and blues based. The stuff that came out of the 50s is rock and roll. A lot of people added on to it and snowballed it into other versions of rock and roll, which split off into other genres like rock and classic rock and all that. But if you talk about the epitome of rock and roll music, the Cramps, they were shock rockers in a way. Not too shock rocky, but shock rockers in a way. They cared about leather. They cared about high heels, fishnets, mixing guys and girls in the band together. That always was a big part of them. Being scary and spooky and wanting to entertain the hell out of you by shocking you, but also very good musicians, staying true to form and true to the style of rockabilly and psychobilly. I think the Cramps, especially if you watch interviews with Lux Interior, him and Poison Ivy, his partner, who she played guitar in the Cramps and was just a badass in her own right, just chewing gum in a bikini, playing guitar, slaying old school rockabilly riffs, and having the meanest mug on her face. Like, she doesn't even care that she's there. But interviews of them show a totally different side. They were so well grounded and so well educated on rock and roll music and everything I've been talking about. They just truly got what it was for. And they said it's for teenagers. Like, we're writing songs for teenagers because rock and roll is for teenagers. It's the ball of angst. And, you know, they said, we're going to be able to be teenagers until we die, which he unfortunately did, but never drifted, you know? So yeah, sorry to ramble on about the Cramps, but if you don't know the Cramps, they had songs like Human Fly and I Was a Teenage Werewolf and Bikini Girls with Machine Guns. Like they just, you know.
I was about to say, one of the things about the Cramps was that they had like Bikini Girls with Machine Guns is the song that got me into them.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't sure if they were like a parody band, I guess, you know what I mean? And then I got it, like my sister had the tape that had it on it, and I was like, oh wow, this is all of the things that I didn't know that I wanted, that I was expecting. So they really run the gamut, and there's a lot of bands that play similar music, like you said, have like deep roots in old school rock and roll, not just rock, but it sounds more maybe like it sounds a little bit more authentic from them. in your own parlance, I think it is out of the box, but within the circle, of exactly what the styles upon which they're drawing. Maybe you want to
I feel like it
that.
was the true evolution. They came around in the late
Next
70s.
step, yeah.
And it was like, if nobody broke the mold, and rockabilly, rock and roll, psychobilly stayed where the course it was on all the way from the 50s to the 70s without branching out at all, you'd get the cramps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put. Like, if there were no... People didn't get more creative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I say they're the best rock and roll band of all time. Lex and Thierry might be the king of rock and roll.
Man, you are making some bold statements.
I might be, but you know what? If you deep dive hard enough, I stand by him.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to go in a completely different direction and talk about some of the hip hop acts that have scared either people or the world. And I was around, like, I remember when NWA came out, and I remember being in a car with I think I was going to like basketball practice. My friend's dad, who was a professor at one of the local universities, was like, "Have you you guys heard of this band?" Like, trying to get ahead of the conversation with us.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you know what those letters stand for?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I find that unacceptable." And like having a mass, like trying to set the conversation, the foundation for the conversation of like how he was terrified of what they were bringing to the table in terms of having a conversation. And I know we had talked about Chuck D in specific before, and how Public Enemy sounded so authoritative. But if it didn't have, Flavor Flav as like the foil, the court jester, the 3PO to the R2D2, you know what I mean? Like if we didn't have him there, like it would have sounded really scary, right? And so like they were able to balance that out, whereas, Straight Outta Compton's like they're literally coming straight for you, whereas 911 as a joke still kind of took, like an entertaining route to kind of be the CNN of the streets, as Chuck D said. And that was a real reckoning for like suburban America to kind of look at themselves and go like, what are we doing here? What are we talking about? It was really a really interesting time to grow up with like the parental advisory stickers on CDs and stuff. That all really started with NWA, and I didn't find their stuff scary, but the parents at the time found it like legitimately scary. A lot of them did, and they were really terrified because they had not heard any of those. They had not heard any of those stories represented outside of the news, where
they were afraid of the influence. Sorry. They were afraid of the influence.
100%. Yeah, totally. I got this on my head because I'm listening to Suicidal Tendencies my whole life.
Nice.
And the very first song I ever tried to figure out on the guitar was "How Will I Laugh Tomorrow If I Can't Even Smile Today." And every time I see Suicidal, and I want to note that I've had family members take their own lives, so it's like I'm very well aware of the language that they're using, but they also are one of, if not the most uplifting bands I've ever seen in my life. Like Mike Moyer is a personal hero, and he'll say stuff like, at the last show he said, "You have the right to tell the truth. You have the right to better yourself." Like this is how they're empowering their audience. They're gathering you around this music, and the message is actually one of empowerment, and that maybe you have destructive tendencies, but you have the right and the power to rise above them, which was, it takes some time to get down in there to find it. But similar to Tool, you spend a little time there, and you're like, this is some of the best stuff that we can have. I also wanted to, of course, address Eminem, because he has written some of the scariest stuff. I should say Slim Shady has... I was going to say,
Slim Shady's scarier than Eminem.
Yeah, exactly. I should say, absolutely. Slim Shady has really gotten done some scary stuff, particularly Darkness. What's the one?
Kim.
Kim, Framed. Like, there's some really dark stuff that is really scary, and it's not his entire catalog by any shape of the imagination. And if you haven't, or if our listeners haven't listened to his most recent album, it's really interesting because he's like, Marshall's older now, and Marshall and Eminem and Slim Shady are all different characters that are like interacting with each other on the new album. It's really brilliant. But you don't get there without already establishing that Slim Shady is a scary dude,
Oh, yeah.
and it all totally works. But I think that it was also really amazing to see him have the opportunity to grow up and to mature as an artist, and clearly as an incredible parent. And like it's just been. I don't know. I think those of us who've been with him since the beginning, been listening to him since the beginning, aren't surprised because the depth was always there. It was just focused in a completely different way. But I don't think I've heard anything that has even tried to be that scary since then.
Yeah,
on like a bigger scale. And I'm always looking for newer stuff, and I haven't heard anything that even tries to go there.
And that honest, like that's what was scary about it, was the honesty. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't scary in a boo, I got you way. He was scary in like, this is a true psychopath walking amongst us.
Yeah, this wasn't a DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince's Nightmare on My Street. It was a completely different experience. I remember when that came out. Actually, it's actually a really good song. I know Chris Rock is my favorite. Chris Rock is my favorite living comedian. Is probably number 3 or 4 on my list, but like. I still like the old Will Smith stuff. Sorry. I still do.
Hey, you're allowed to. I still watch Men in Black.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
So I'm just going to speed round 2 names to add on to the hip-hop end of things. DMX is terrifying.
Yes.
Terrifying person. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You listen to his, like, he can hit bars, but he doesn't have to hit bars. Like, just that presence in general. You're like, I don't want to mess with that dude. Like,
oh, dude,
it's a scary human.
that's the founder of Rough Riders right there,
exactly.
Man. That dude was hard. I read his autobiography, Earl Ever Always Real Life by Smokey T. Fontaine. Fantastic book. Check it out sometime. I hope if it's on audiobook. I'm not sure if it is, but if they've made it, our listeners should absolutely listen to it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And then, you ready for this one? One of the scariest rappers of all time, MC Hammer.
Oh yeah, outside of his tape, yeah, dude was hard.
He was no joke, man.
Hard.
Dude had an army behind him.
Still does.
Yeah, snap his fingers and bye. So I had to throw those in, but it's hard to even say his name.
I know where we're going with this.
Yeah, when we get into shock rock and punk rock and like kind of the darker parts of punk rock, because I always loved punk rock as a expression, as a political jumping off point for musicians, just a collective of great minds is how I view punk rock, with great words. But there's a whole nother side to punk rock, and that is the shock value. That is the putting a safety pin through your nose, abandoned lost souls looking for a community. And the Peter Pan of the lost souls was none other than Gigi Allen, who was maybe
the Peter Pan of lost souls. I never thought I'd hear somebody say Gigi Allen was Peter Pan.
Well, am I wrong? Is that accurate?
No, you're absolutely not wrong.
So Gigi Allen was, him and his brother Merle were born in a log cabin in New Hampshire and had like not a pot to piss in. And I don't know where to start with Gigi Allen, because like there is a certain brilliance, but there's also a certain like I can't say I like him. You know what I mean? Like, he was a terrible, terrible person. But as far as being yourself and sticking to your guns, his stage show was defecation, urination, vomit, nudity, fighting, blood. I mean, the dude would just strip naked, crap on stage, put the microphone in the crap, keep singing it, throw crap on audience or on the crowd, run up, punch people in the face out of nowhere for no reason in the middle of a song, drunk as hell, high on whatever he could get his hands on, self-mutilation, sang songs of rape and just the worst. Just the worst. I don't know how else to say it. It sucks. Like, it's stuff we don't like to talk about on this channel. But if we're talking about rock and roll history and specifically scary history, this dude was terrifying, and had a cult behind him.
Yes,
truly had a cult of diehard fans behind him. If you ever watch the YouTube channel Soft White Underbelly, it's amazing. It's this guy Mark Lalita, I think his last name is, and he's a photographer who started interviewing interviewing the people he was taking pictures of, and who he was taking pictures of was like the underbelly of society. You know, he was down in Skid Row and in Las Vegas and stuff, and then he started interviewing prostitutes, drug dealers, gangbangers, and letting them just talk and tell their story. And not just that. There's a lot. That's how he got his start. But he also does the Whitaker family from West Virginia, this crazy inbred family, and like their story. And it's great. It's a great platform to see how hard people's lives are, and like that these characters come from places like this. But he did Merle Allen, who was Gigi Allen's older brother, and his bass player. I actually opened for Gigi Allen's band with Merle, the Murder Junkies. Gigi died in the early 90s. So they have somebody else fronting the band, and it's nowhere near as insane. It's still insane, but we played with them here in Erie once. It was crazy. But so yeah, I that's about all I want to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
You guys can choose to look him up or not. He's an icon in his own realm, and he lived life his way. And ended it his way.
And I was about to say, and went out the way that you would expect him to.
Yes.
I think Gigi Allen is always someone that you have to acknowledge and not with whom you need to agree. And I've got another one who's similar, nowhere near to the same extent. There's not many who are up next, which is Ministry, specifically Al Jurgensen, you know, the leading force behind Ministry. I want to preface this by saying that, like, it was a revelation the first time I heard Ministry. The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste came out in the 80s. I want to say it came out around like the same time as maybe 88 or 89. Could you look that up maybe? Yeah, yep. Thanks Matt. And like around the same time as like Appetite for Destruction. And when if you listen to the two side to side, you're like, oh, well, this one, Appetite, sounds like an 80s, early 90s record. And The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste. And I want to say Psalm 69 came out 2 or 3 years later, early 90s, mid 90s. They sounded like they fell out of a time warp. And I still, when I listen to them, I'm like, some of this stuff is unhinged, scary, weird stuff. Did you find the year on?
November 89.
89. So yeah, a couple months after Appetite, which sounds wild. But some of the stuff on it is really kind of like scary and weird. And it continued the beginning of like my introduction to like kind of darker alternative stuff was like Skinny Puppy, you know, oh God, the Perpetual Intercourse by Skinny Puppy. That album, I was not ready for when I first heard it. I thought it was like the soundtrack to a horror album or something. I was also very young, and Ministry took that and added an industrial component, or it really kind of revolutionized it. But there was an industrial component to Ministry that I can easily pass through. And we talked about Rob Zombie. 9 Inch Nails, I feel like Trent, specifically with 9 Inch Nails, has perfected what Al started with Ministry. And I've seen Ministry live a couple times. Amazing stuff. I was actually just talking about one of the shows the other day, and I got out of that pit when my shirt was ripped. I had a bloody nose and a bloody lip, and I was covered in beer. And I didn't drink beer. I'm a whiskey drinker. I don't really drink beer. And my buddy was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I'm maybe the best I've ever been. It was incredible. This was at the Quest, the club that Prince used to own here in Minneapolis. It's been closed for probably about 12, 15 years now. But Al's other band, the Revolting Cocks, opened. That gives you a sense of what this dude is like. And there's I don't know if it's an actual autobiography or if it's a biography that I'd read through a bit, and a friend of mine has read all of it. And just like, you know, it helps you understand, like, yeah, this is a terrible person. And, sometimes in a similar vein, like Gigi Allen, it's like, sometimes it takes someone that unhinged to create something that's that new and that's that unhinged.
Yeah.
But Ministry in particular, I'm going to put TV2 on the playlist. This song, if it came out today, it would, people would be like, wow, that's really pushing the envelope. Yeah, and it came out 37 years ago, which is really kind of hard to kind of wrap my brain around. But that's what I've got for scary people and stuff. That, remember to check out the playlist again, onceupon.tune.com. There'll be a playlist for this episode that will include most of, if not all of the artists and some tracks by them about which we've talked today. Do you have anything else to add for that, Matt?
Yeah, I'll do a quick lightning round of the rest of my list. Let's go into themes. Obviously, this conversation has to include Danny Elfman because of just he's composed some of the coolest, creepy, spooky Halloween-style songs, from the Batman theme song to the Beetlejuice music to the collective of Nightmare Before Christmas. A little more lighthearted than some of the stuff we're talking about, but still great compositions to spooky factor nonetheless, And Dead Man's Party. I mean, come on, Oingo Boingo. But another one that I really want to bring up is John Carpenter's Halloween theme.
Yes, I was about to say we've got to be talking about that. Yeah,
awesome. Really interesting, unique song. John Carpenter, wrote it on keyboard. I don't know how much he knew he was doing at that time when he wrote it. It's in 1/5, which is like the hardest timing to count. My string show, actually, we play that song during Halloween time and have the mandolin doing the da-da-da-da-da-da, and then the cello and the violin come in on like the more drawn out parts. It's actually awesome, but learning it was hell because you had to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
yeah.
1, 2. Like it breaks your brain trying to hit those. The Halloween theme. Friday the 13th. My small Maddie's music history today is the Friday the 13th theme. Right? You hear that all the time when Jason's coming along. I recently found out that it's actually Ki-Ma. K-I-M-A, which is short for kill mom.
What? Wow.
Kill mom.
No way.
Yep.
Wow. Crazy.
That was how it was originally spoken. It was kill mom or kill mama is what they said into the mic when they recorded it, and then put all the reverb on it, and it came out as but yeah, it was supposed to say kill mama.
Wow.
Like Jason talking to the mom to kill.
Wait, hold on. That was Matt's music history, brought to you by Aerotone Productions. Aerotone Productions is a live sound and recording production company coming out of northwestern Pennsylvania, specializing in sound engineering, multimedia editing, archiving, and scoring. That was Matt's music history.
Thanks, Deb.
Yeah.
Tubular Bells, The Exorcist. What a song.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like that'll put goosebumps on you regardless of knowing its origin or not. Like it's just such a haunting song. Robert Johnson, Hellhound on My Trail, the original blues icon, responsible for half of the music that exists on the planet these days. Another one, he's the one who sold his soul to the devil, the founder of the 27 Club, which we'll get into the 27 Club on a later episode.
We should do a whole episode on that, yeah.
Yep. We said Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper, Slipknot, I think could go in there. When they first came out, like all these guys in masks, Mushroom Head.
Mushroom Head. Who I saw at Sherlock's, the same place you were just talking about, where you concussed yourself.
I played with one of the members' side projects there one time. They were great. Always put on an awesome show.
They're from Cleveland.
Yeah. Marilyn Manson. I think Marilyn Manson deserves to be on this list because when I was a kid, I was born in 86. So in the, mid 90s, I was 10, 11, 12. when Marilyn Manson was really popping off. And I remember my mom was cool enough to let me check out the MTV Music Awards. I think it was 97 when he performed Beautiful People. And she was like, I want you to come and watch this guy. I think this is a pretty important moment in music history because they've never let somebody like this play on a platform on TV like this before. You know what I mean? Like, it was a big deal when Marilyn Manson played the MTV Music Awards. Came out with Beautiful People, and I just remember being shocked. I'd never seen anything like that. He comes out in a fur coat, acts like he's the president, and then yells, and then the Beautiful People starts, and everyone's wearing weird platform goth shoes, and then he rips that off, and he's got like a corset on, and like you could see his ass cheeks. Like, scary stuff. You know what I mean? For a 10, 11-year-old who just hasn't been introduced to that. So I think Marilyn Manson deserves a place on the list. And Ghost. Ghost, not necessarily the scariest band. Oh, he's got a face. Talk to me.
I'm just not a fan. I'm
not the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the music, but the presentation I think is awesome.
You're allowed. You're allowed to have your opinion. One of my favorite, if anybody out there reads the hardtimes.net, it's like the Onion for like rock bands. One of my favorite articles on Hard Times recently was band that hates Ghost excited to open for Ghost.
It's awesome.
It's good shit, yeah.
Well, okay. So to Ghost's stage performance. Oh, how do we forget Gwar?
I don't think they're scary at all.
But they're like funny scary, but they're still... Yeah. You know, they spray blood all over everybody. I mean,
I saw Gwar in West Virginia in the 90s. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I don't remember the music at all, but in the middle of the show, was it Fungus Urungus or whatever his name is?
Odorous Urungus.
Odorous Urungus. He had an axe battle with a giant robot that he split in half, and it's oil and blood sprayed all over us. It was amazing. They threw a Jerry Springer lookalike into the mouth of like an inflatable monster. Yeah, it was awesome. That's how long ago that was. Jerry Springer was on TV.
Oh my gosh. Rammstein. Rammstein could be up there with their stage show.
I guess, yeah.
There's some scariness there. I had one more. Oh, I was going to say Tom Waits.
Oh.
I think there are parts of Tom Waits that bring out super unnerving. What's he building in there?
That's yeah.
You know,
that's the song if anybody asks, because I'm a huge Tom Waits fan. If anybody asks like, what's he like? What's he sound like? I send them What's He Building in There and Dead and Lovely. Nice. Those are the two songs I sent. And if they can listen to those and be like, ooh, that was good, then they can get like. I'll send them the whole Rain Dogs or something like that. But yeah, that dude, I don't know. I never thought of it as scary, but I guess a similar. I mean, he has,
Spooky.
He did, Spooky. And he did a whole album with Primus and stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, Real Gone. Primus was the backing band on that. So like, they have like a kindred feeling sound that is like it's very unnerving if you're not ready for it, for sure.
Well, that's the thing. It's what's your definition of scary? We've talked about all kinds of different scary. We've talked about visually, just because a band sings about Halloween and has skulls, does that put it under scary? I think so. Like, they're trying to be. Then we talk about Gigi Allen, who's just a terrifying human being, and Eminem. Right. And then we're also talking about
Slim Shady, technically, but yeah.
Slim Shady. But Screaming Jay Hawkins, it's not really scary.
No, yeah, that was. I think that was probably a scary cultural moment.
But it was keeping the vibe,
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So yeah, I just, those are a bunch of people that I think deserve to be on the list, because by that knowledge, or by that logic, Johnny Cash could be on that list in certain points of his career.
I mean,
because he was known as a bad, scary dude when he came out. Like nobody was as dark as him. He was the Man in Black. Does that mean
a man just to watch him die? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. If we're looking at culturally, like, time period in reference to anything else that's happening.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. That was my lightning round.
Yeah, you were stretching a bit there at the end there. That was a slow lightning round, dude. That just kept striking. Like, yeah, how about a Johnny Cash lightning bolt? Well, that one fizzled out. Didn't make it all the way to the ground. But yeah, you know. All right. I'm not sure we got. I don't think I have anyone else on my list. I actually had a few of the ones about whom we talked. A really great work bringing up the Cramps. I never would have thought of that, but that's like a big one. I also want to note that you brought up the Sonics on one of the previous playlists or episodes, and I've been listening to the Sonics a lot. I had kind of forgotten how freaking incredible the Sonics were.
The greatest garage band of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I was really kind of surprised at how good it all was and how good it all sounded too. Like it sounded really like I was like in the garage with them while they were playing or something like that. All right, so I've got a special Devs Deep Dive today. It's going to be a pre-recorded segment, and it's about one of my all-time heroes, Jason Becker, who you'll find out about him in just a moment. But also, he just released a new album, even though he's been unable to move with ALS for over 30 years. But here we go. The lineage of guitarists for Diamond David Lee Roth begins as follows: Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, and then Jason Becker. Now, before Jason Becker started playing with Diamond Dave, he was in a band called Cacophony with fellow guitarist Marty Friedman, who would of course go on to play for Megadeth and record what I and many others consider to be one of, if not the greatest guitar solo of all time in Tornado of Souls. Now, unfortunately, as Jason's star was rising, he was diagnosed with ALS, better known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and quickly lost control of his physical functions. I just want to very quickly also mention that, I lost a family member to ALS while we were going through that journey together. While my family was going through that journey, I emailed Jason's estate just to I was looking for some connection, and they were kind enough to reply with a very encouraging and sweet message that I've held on to for honestly 16 or so years since that correspondence happened. But to say that as a guitar community, we were excited to see what Jason was going to be able to do back in the 90s when this news broke is to understate things considerably. He was one of the great mechanics of the guitar, and you'll even hear greats today like Nita Strauss come out and say that Jason is their absolute hero. So losing his ability to play the guitar seemed like it was going to be the end of us hearing from him as a guitarist, but it wasn't. He continued to write music using software that would track his eye movements. And then originally, Shrapnel Records mate Michael Lee Firkins, I believe, was playing his guitar parts. And he's still releasing and coordinating music today. He just had a 50th birthday and released a new version of Some Assembly Required. Go check it out. It's absolutely magnificent. Jason is a worthy hero, and he's a perfect example of how nothing can stop you from being a guitarist if you are a guitarist down to your core. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that he's done and some things that I've learned from him. So the main thing that we can learn from Jason Becker is perseverance, right? Like, this guy continues to release music and bring together people in our community and inspire us. It's mind-blowing, quite honestly. But in terms of the guitar and music theory, I've learned more about music in general and the guitar as a physical tool to play music from Jason's song Air than I have from any other piece of music. I'm going to play you a passage here. It starts with that, which are just the notes in E major. So we're in the key of E major. I'm going to go ahead and put the chords for E major up over here. I'm going to play through the passage, and I'm going to call out the chord that is being arpeggiated at any point in time. The song is mostly a couple guitars playing harmony arpeggios. So I'll highlight the chord that is being arpeggiated, and if it's not in the key, I'll add it down below, and I will note how far outside of the key the chord is. So it starts with the notes in the scale. Then B diminished 7, E Lydian, D sharp diminished 7, E major, G sharp minor, then D diminished 7, C sharp diminished 7, G sharp minor, E Lydian, D sharp diminished 7, C sharp minor, the notes in the scale, A major, E major, and C diminished. Whew. Wow, I gotta say, it's not easy to both play and explain at the same time. But take a look at how far outside of the key he goes there and how cool and magical it all sounds. There's so much motion happening. One of the main things I took from this, and if you haven't seen my video on diminished sevenths yet, I'll put a card up here and I'll put a link for it in the description, is how to use diminished sevenths as a way to pass between chords that actually resolve. The diminished seventh chord to my ear doesn't actually resolve, but it's a great like passage from one thing to the next. And look at how many times he does that, how far outside of the key he gets sometimes. So the concept of modal interchange really came to me learning this as well. I didn't know any of these names or how they were used, but they were presented to me in my fingers and on the fretboard. I could figure it out, and kind of learn from it. There's another really great part here where he does this C sharp minor. So he plays these notes. It's a C sharp minor arpeggio, but he hits that open E string instead of this ninth fret of the G to like mask a position shift. Absolutely brilliant. And one of the things that I do with that a lot is like if I'm playing in G, I'll use like a harmonic or the open string to mask a position shift, like I said. I learned that from him. Jason is absolutely like just one of the greatest things that we've ever had as guitarists, and totally a worthy hero. What a creature. Yeah,
right.
One of the best.
All right, that was Deb's Deep Dive, brought to you by 6 Tuning Pegs, providing technology solutions for guitarists and the rest of the world. You can check out more at 6tuningpegs.com. That's the number 6, tuningpegs.com, for the love of guitar. Good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for this week. I think one of the things we want to let everyone know is just a few days ago before this posted was the first episode of Songtaneous, for which you sang. And Songtaneous is a video series I'm doing on this channel where I take a bunch of musicians. We have 1 hour to write the music for a song and record it. And then we give it to a singer who has then an hour to write and record the vocals. And this time for the first one, here in Minnesota, we did the music, and then I sent it over to Matt, who did the vocals, and we'll put a link in the description so that you can check that out as well. But it came out really well, and it's called A Form of Terror. Actually, hold on.
By the way, writing lyrics to a song you never heard and singing it and recording it in an hour, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Well, this was the pedal that the keyboardist, I just wanted to put something on the keyboards, and he was using this throughout, and it's called the Terraform. It's a Wampler Terraform pedal. That's where the name came from. We called it Terraform, then it was like Terror Form. It was like, well, a form of terror, and that became the name of the song. I gave it to him, and it's perfect Friday the 13th fodder for today's episode. But yeah, that came out a couple days ago, so make sure you check that out. And you got anything else you want to add today, Matt?
No, I'm pretty excited. If we have any Pittsburgh fans in the house, we're performing with the Appalachian Soul Man, Aristotle Jones, at Acoustic Music Works on March 26th. It's a ticketed show. Tickets are selling fast. $20 a ticket. Check out more at Acoustic Music Works. And it'll be Broke Pole and String show, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's our first big ticketed out-of-town show. So
awesome! Congratulations!
Thank you.
And the day after this airs is Pi Day 3.14, and my '90s tribute act is going to be playing at Shaw's in Uptown Minneapolis on Saturday. So come and enjoy Pi Day with us. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode. Friday the 13th, March 2026. This has been episode 11, 12, and spiritually 13 of Once Upon a Tune, the podcast about tunes where we celebrate music.
And the characters who make it. Bye, guys.
See you next week. Cheers.